bomb Iran, we're going to find ourselves in a 2-year bombing maintenance program of Iran. And after 9/11, the largest demonstration in the world in support of the United States was in Iran. Over 1 million citizens showed up in Tehran in support of the United States, and we're going to bomb the citizens of Iran? We're going to make ourselves another 100 million enemies to this country that we otherwise would not have. Right now, inflation in Iran is running at 70%. It is a bad, bad scene. And the reason inflation is running at 17% or 70% is because of our trade embargo against Iran. Does Iran hate their government for the fact that inflation is at 70%? No, they hate the United States because the United States is behind this. So there are alternatives to the constant military interventions that go on and on and on. So in that context, I'm the only candidate that would get out of Afghanistan tomorrow and bring the troops home. We have hundreds of millions of enemies to this country because of our military interventions. When the drone flies overhead and hits the target, it doesn't just hit the target. It kills a lot of innocent people, and as a result of that, friends, family, business associates, they vow revenge against the United States, even if it includes giving up of their own lives. Our military interventions need to stop.
Yeah.
Of all evil, politicians that beat their chests in the name of elect me or re-elect me, and I'll save you from the ills of the world, including the terrorists. So in that vein, hundreds, tens of thousands of innocent civilians die. Our men and servicewomen come back in body bags or with their limbs blown off. Stop. Stop the insanity. Syria right now. We're backing the Syrian insurgents, and 1/4 of the Syrian insurgents are Al-Qaeda. We learn nothing. Didn't this happen in Afghanistan with Osama bin Laden? We learn nothing. I am the only candidate that would have stood up and said marriage equality is a constitutionally guaranteed right on par with civil rights in the 60s. I am the only candidate that says, end the drug wars now, legalize marijuana now. We are at a tipping point when it comes to marijuana. It's on the ballot in Colorado this fall to regulate marijuana like alcohol. I think it's going to pass. I think it's going to be the first of 50 state dominoes that fall. Citizens of Denver 6 years ago voted to decriminalize marijuana on a campaign based on marijuana being safer than alcohol. Coloradans get this. And how does that equate to the other states? I think when Colorado votes to do this, and everybody in Cincinnati gets on an airplane to go to Denver for the weekend to chill out, I think 50 states fall in line with rational drug policy. How does it work if we would have a president that would veto legislation? Well, I would have vetoed the Patriot Act.
Yeah!
The Department of Homeland Security would not exist. It's incredibly redundant. TSA, by extension, would not exist.
Yeah!
I would leave airport security to the airlines, to the airports, to the states, to the municipalities. And if I'm elected President of the United States and Congress doesn't abolish the TSA, guess what? I'm in control of the TSA. I hire the head of the TSA. I guarantee you that in a very short amount of time, TSA will be less intrusive and as safe. That's how this works from an administrative standpoint, from the standpoint of executive orders. I'm the only candidate that would not have signed the National Defense Authorization Act. Allowing for arrest and detainment of U.S. citizens without being charged. I am the only candidate that is promising to submit a balanced budget to Congress now, 2013. A $1.4 trillion reduction in federal spending now, because if we don't get this under control, we're going to find ourselves in a monetary collapse. And what's a monetary collapse? A monetary collapse, very simply, is when the dollars in your pocket don't buy a thing because of the accompanying inflation that goes along with borrowing and printing money to the tune of 43 cents out of every dollar that we spend. So here we have a debate the other night between Obama and Romney talking about debating over who's going to spend more money on Medicare when we need to have a raging debate and discussion in this country on how we slash Medicare spending, because we all recognize that what we're doing is not sustainable. Medicare is a program that all of us pay over our lifetimes $30 into, and we receive a $100 benefit. In what way is that sustainable? That needs to be the raging debate and discussion. And defense, you know what? I don't want to cut a penny from defense, but I want to cut 43% from the military budget. The military budget. Takes us back to 2003 spending levels, and I suggest to you that the biggest threat to our national security is the fact that we borrow and print money to the tune of 43 cents out of every dollar we spend. Right now in this country, crony capitalism is alive and well. Buy your loophole, buy your deduction, both parties sell it. It's not a level playing field. So I am the only candidate proposing to eliminate income tax, eliminate corporate tax, abolish the IRS, and replace all of it with one federal consumption tax that by any measurement is a lot more fair than what we currently have. It would really reboot the American economy for the next 100 years. It ends up being cost neutral over a very short amount of time. It bleeds all federal taxes out of all goods and services for export. So it's the answer when it comes to China, not embargoes, not tariffs. Look who benefits from tariffs when it comes to China. Nobody benefits. If China wants to subsidize the goods and services that it sends to the United States, whose advantage is that? It's us, because we pay less for this stuff. Who's at a disadvantage? It's China. And in a free market approach to trade, that will level itself out. Back to the fair tax. It's the answer when it comes to jobs. If tens of millions of jobs are not created in this country with a zero tax rate environment, zero corporate tax rate environment, what does it take to create tens of millions of jobs? And it's really the answer when it comes to manufacturing jobs. Manufacturing jobs will flock back to the United States given a zero corporate tax rate environment. I would be the only candidate on stage, I'm the only candidate running for President of the United States who would sign legislation banning the Federal Reserve, abolishing the Federal Reserve. This is crony capitalism at its best. Treasury prints money, they give it to the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve gives it to the banks at 0%. The banks don't loan it out to you or I because they can buy treasuries in a closed loop. They can make money with no risk whatsoever. Who pays for those profits? You and I pay for those profits. How do you get into a game like that? And that's what exists in this country. I'm the only candidate running for president that would repeal legal tender laws and allow for competing currencies, which would allow our currency to actually have a commodity base in that currency. Woo! I ran 2 campaigns for governor where I did not mention my opponent in print, radio, or television. I just think people are hungry to vote for somebody as opposed to the lesser of 2 evils. I do not buy on to negative advertising at all, and I saw a statistic here last week that Obama ran 82,000 negative ads against Romney last month. Romney, I'm sure, ran the same